Good evening, everybody. My friend Kim has requested that I start the proceedings with the following song. And so, Andrew. Okay. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these second eyes and learn to see. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of the dark black night. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of the dark black night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to rise. You were only waiting for this moment to rise. You were only waiting for this moment to rise. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone. Okay, so she's asked me to do another one that I hope I remember the words for. Just one moment, please.
Not a can, thank you though.
I'm gonna make a change for once in my life. Gonna feel real good, gonna make a difference, gonna make it right. When I turn up the color on my favorite old record, you know that something inside kids in the street, not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A broken bottle of Normally I do this at karaoke when I have the words in front of me. Follow each other on the wind you see, 'cause they got no place to be. That's why I'm starting with me. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. Na 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 na. Been a victim of the selfish kind of love. It's something I realize. I don't know all the words. If you do know them, please sing along. Broken heart. You know what? Use your kind. Oh well, okay, something also got pushed. That would be why. I am super confused. Can I just start that over again? No, we don't care? Alright, I'll just stop singing and embarrassing myself horribly. My name's Marissa. Thank you all very much.
That was Marissa Lopez singing, and we thank her so much for giving her time to us. Thank you, Marissa. And thank you, everyone, for coming. My name's Kimberly Hamill. I am with the Bangor Racial and Economic Justice Coalition. And I am so thrilled that you have come and participated in this community response to the violence in Minnesota, Louisiana, and Texas last week. Thank you. We have a speaking program, and I want to move right along with it. We'd like to welcome Mayor Sean Faircloth to say a few words to you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming here. With the events in Dallas being not even 4 weeks after what happened in Orlando, it is a very difficult time for this country, and I hope it is something that we can do to pay homage to so many who have suffered so much. I would give to you a number, 20,000. 20,000 is the number of law enforcement officers who have died in the line of duty in the history of this country. And the vast, vast majority of law enforcement officers are decent, kind, honorable, and brave people who protect us, and blue lives do matter. So let's please give the law enforcement community a round of applause. I know we have some of them here. And it is entirely consistent with that we look at our country as it is. And our country as it is a wonderful and great country. Our Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson, who said that all men are created equal. It is also true that Thomas Jefferson was born a slave owner, and that this dark part of our heritage has been with us, and racism has been with us from the very beginning. And so it does not contradict our respect for law enforcement officers to look at the world the way it is and to look at this country the way it is. African Americans, according to statistical data, are 2.5 times as likely to be killed by police officers. And listen to this, Black Americans are more likely, when unarmed, to be shot by police than are white Americans to be shot by police. This kind of information is not information that we can close our eyes to. I'm very honored by the Bangor Police Department and the police chief who I spoke to the other night, because they actively have diversity training and racial sensitivity training, and they intend to continue with that. And I think that our Bangor Police Department is one of the most enlightened police departments in the country. We want to thank them. But the reality of this country cannot be hidden away. We need to look at the dark parts as well and face them directly and think about what compassionate action we can take. And again, Dallas was not even 4 weeks after Orlando, because gay lives matter, because all human lives matter. And I think also we need to look at the reality of the overall context of this situation and face it directly. For example, the Dallas police chief said himself that it was a difficult situation. It was obviously a horrible situation, but it was even more difficult and horrible given that there were approximately 30 people in the crowd who had long rifles and even AR-15s during the time that the police officers were trying to deal with this crisis. That's the reality in America today, and we need, whatever your opinion, to face the reality of this country. Americans are 100 times more likely to be shot by police than British citizens. I don't think this is because our police are bad or evil. I think we face a systemic difference in this country, and we need to face up to the reality that Americans are 6 times more likely to die from gun homicides than people in Australia and Germany, a country that is a major industrialized country. Another set of lives that really matter, and I hope we can bring ourselves together with this sense of compassion, is the lives of women. Domestic violence is a terrible thing we face in this country, and when you look at this country, we find that women are likely to die of homicide 14 times as often as women in Germany, 14 times as often as women in France, 77 times as often as women in Great Britain, all major industrialized nations. I'm glad we started with that song, Blackbird. Blackbird was written in 1968 by Paul McCartney as an homage to the African American civil rights movement. It was one of the pivotal moments in American history, and in 1968, we lost Martin Luther King. And on the day we lost him, Robert Kennedy, who was to die by a gun only a few days later, got up before a crowd, a mostly African American crowd, and he said that we need to work together to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world. But I have to tell you the reality. The reality is that since Martin Luther King, since we lost Robert Kennedy, more people have died by gun violence in this country since 1968 than all the wars of American soldier deaths combined since 1776, since the American Revolution. You can have whatever opinion you want, but it is important for us, so close after Orlando, so close after Dallas, to face reality and to look at this country the way it is. I love this country, and I believe that black lives do matter, and blue lives matter, and gay lives matter, and women's lives matter. And if we care about those lives, let's do something about this country together. Let us stand up and do something about this country, because we love this country and because we are patriotic Americans. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Fairclough. Next, we have Sherry Mitchell. Sherry is an Indigenous rights attorney and a member of the Penobscot Nation. And she's going to be speaking for a few moments about why this is pertaining to some of the writing she's done recently. And I welcome her. Thank you so much, Sherry.
Kwe, Aguano, hello, welcome. Ndali Wisi, Wanahamugasit, Najio, Banawabskik. Nalita Hazuyo and Diane, my name is Sherry Mitchell from the Penobscot Nation, and I'm happy to be here with you today. I feel a little bit uncomfortable being the first speaker after the mayor here today, and I understand that there are going to be other speakers from the Black community who are going to be speaking after me, but I want to acknowledge that those voices need to be heard in this discussion. They need to be heard loud and they need to be heard clear. So we don't have to look very far to realize that we're living in a time of extremes. Everything that has been in the shadow is coming into the light. It's making it appear that we have all of these waves of new violence that are occurring, but these wounds that we're facing today collectively are not new. They're centuries old. If we hope to actually be able to address these issues, to be able to solve the problems that they cause, like the mayor said, we have to be honest about the country that we live in. We have to be honest that this country was founded on genocide and slavery, and that the structures of modern society still draw from those roots in very real ways. But it's very complicated for us to talk about these things. As an Indigenous woman, I realize that there is a complex relationship between my ancestors and African American ancestors. I realized that there was a scenario that was established where all others were allowed to elevate themselves against the Indigenous people, above the Indigenous people, in order to be here on this land. And one of the ways that the slaves were able to earn their freedom was by killing Indians, which is where Buffalo Soldiers came from. And so we have a very complex history. And so issues of race are very complicated. They're hard for us to talk to because they're incredibly painful. It's not really just a matter of being a racist or not being a racist. Everybody has their own biases. Everybody has their own blind spots that they're not aware of. We all carry something within us that needs to be healed and reconciled. These issues of race are systemic, they're endemic, they're historical, and they impact every single one of us. It's been built into our psyche to think about one another in regard to race. For 17 centuries, for more than 17 centuries, we have been trained to think about one another in regard to these false hierarchies and caste systems that are based on race. This isn't just an issue of modern man, this is historical trauma that's deeply embedded into our psyche. And it's something that we all have to be willing to address on both an individual and collective basis. The only way for us to do that is to really be honest about the pain that we carry. We all carry this pain. It's not just the victims. It's not just the perpetrators. It's not just the oppressed or the oppressor. The witnesses to this violence also suffer this pain. Every single one of us carries it within our body. Taking a life is a violation of life itself. It's an act of suicide. It's a desecration of the most sacred. And that sends out a vibration into the world that impacts us all. The reason why we come together during times like this is because we want to be close to one another, because we recognize our interdependence on one another. We recognize on a really deep level our connectivity to one another. And so we come together during times like this so that we can be close to one another, so that we can have an excuse to hold one another, to put our differences aside, to sit with our pain and to feel it. This is the only way that we're going to be able to heal these schisms that have erupted within our society. We have to address this historical issue of seeing one another through the lens of race. We've been taught to see one another through the lens of race and to fear what we have seen, because the other is frightening. The other needs to be subdued. the other needs to be vanquished. That goes back to, 1452, Pope Alexander V, in his papal bull that authorized the increase and the expansion of slavery in West Africa. That those people need to be vanquished. And then we have, following that, 17 centuries of just war theory that's built upon those same principles. It's not only in our historical record, it's in our religious doctrine, it's part of our social gospels and our social contracts. We need to take responsibility for that as individuals. We need to remember that we are the people that they're talking about. We are the ones who decide what our society gets to look like. We're the ones who get to decide what our future is going to hold. And unless we do something about the violence that's being brought into the light right now, we're going to continue to pass this historical trauma on to our children, and that's unacceptable. Holocaust survivor Eli Wiesel wrote, "Wherever men and women are persecuted because of race, religion, or political view, that place, at that moment, must become the center of the universe. The center of our universe is right here, right now. It is in Baton Rouge, St. Paul, and Dallas, in Orlando, in Missouri. It's all of the places where violence is erupting in this country to a far greater degree than it is anywhere else in the world. The reason that that's happening is because this country was founded upon violence. You got to keep coming back to that and recognize the truth in that. But that universe is not just out there. It is in our kitchens and churches. It's in our town centers. It's right here in West Market Square. And this is where we must come together. This is where we must meet and begin having these honest discussions about racial violence, religious bias, layers and layers of privilege, and centuries of oppression. We must come together to feel our grief and our sadness and to hold one another. Excuse him. And to hold one another in sacred space, to recognize that we are all sacred, that life itself is sacred, and that we've lost sight of that. Right now, as I said at the beginning, everything that has been hidden in the shadows is being brought into the light. These are not new wounds. We're just seeing them for the first time, clearly, together, collectively. There are marginalized communities all over the world that have seen deep into these shadows. Indigenous people have seen deep into these shadows. The Black population has seen deep into these shadows. The Jewish population has seen deep into these shadows. And those shadows have existed for a very, very long time. So what's happening right now is that the sun is at 12 noon, and everything that has been in shadow is being brought into the light. What this means is that we have an extraordinary opportunity to heal it. And we heal it by showing up together like this, by telling the truth, by feeling the pain of it, by being honest with ourselves about how deeply we are impacted by the loss of any one life. But we also have a responsibility to continue shining that light, to not allow these things to go back into the darkness, to take this opportunity that has been given to us and to once and for all end this history of violence that we have all been collectively a part of. And it's an honor to me to be able to do this work here and in other places, and to stand with people like you all over the world who are rising up, who are shining their light into those shadowy corners, and who are saying no more. No more killings, no more lost sons, no more missing daughters. The time has come for us to end the history of violence. And the only way that we can do that is to take off the masks that we've all donned and really look at each other for the first time in history. And we have the opportunity to do that, and I hope that we'll take it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sherry. And now I'd like to welcome Tony Williams. Tony has created the Maine Fighting Gamers Alliance in the Bangor community. He is well known, and he's going to come up and say a few words now. Welcome, Tony.
We've got to stop meeting like this. I hope one day that we'll come down here for a victory lap, a celebration. Right now is not that time. Right now is the time to think of more progressive solutions to the very real problems that we have. The misconceptions, the fear, the inability to listen, which I think everyone in this crowd has experienced. Even today, you go on your Facebook, go on Twitter, you're gonna see a million things that are gonna just instantly just tick you off. And, you know, that's not where the battle's fought. The battle's fought here. It's fought in front of people. It's making yourself visible. I do not enjoy speaking in public, but I had to do something. And I would much rather be in front of all of you for something good. And I mean, like, I recognize, like, us being here for this is good, but like, is anyone else just frustrated that we have to keep doing this? Blue, black, whatever affiliation of the rainbow you're into, it doesn't matter. Like, stop killing one another. Stop accusing everybody of being racist just because your opinion doesn't line up. Stop absorbing everything you see on TV. It's not as cut and dry as everyone would like you to think it is. I've lived in Bangor my entire life. Most of it anyway. I was adopted. I grew up on Royal Road and Hammond Street. Spent my summers playing at Fairmount Park, and while I did experience some racism, a lot of it was by accident, and a lot of it was cured by understanding. And a lot of those people are my friends, lifelong friends. Mistakes are going to happen. Mistakes are going to continue to happen. But we could have a million vigils, and like there'll always be somebody who has some stupid crap to say. Sorry, pardon my language, but it's been bottling up this long. I sat in front of my computer thinking of what am I going to write? What am I going to say to everybody here? And I couldn't put anything down. I just had to speak from the volume, from my chest, from my head. Which is funny because, I mean, after all these things have happened, I mean, like, I'm guilty of it. I've gone on Facebook, I've ranted, I've said to myself that I didn't even know I had. But I'm here now, and you're all here now. I don't know. The anger I have with all this is, I want to say it's righteous, but it's compiled by sadness in that I don't want to speak in front of a group of people because another person of color got shot, or because we have conflicting views on police. We shouldn't have conflicting views on police. We should be able to trust the police. And we are goddamn lucky we live in Bangor, everybody. Like, I mean, really, regardless of where your opinion on police matter, like, we have it really good here. Like, really good here. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope that we never descend into the kind of darkness that we've seen on television. We need to continue to be an example, a lighthouse, a beacon, showing the rest of this country that you can coexist properly, you can do this correctly. You do not have to just knee-jerk react to everything and say that one life matters over the other. But all the police should be coming home, and people of color should not be getting shot, especially for no reason. especially for no good reason at all. So I'm not really here with a political agenda. I don't have a thing to plug. I don't have a long, like, historical lesson for y'all. We all know it. We all know it. And I guess what I'm going to say here is continue to show up. If someone has racist thoughts, you don't have to listen to what they have to say. Okay, all right. Beep, 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 beep. Let's go. These guys clearly have a message that they want to share with everybody, which is blaring their horns during a protest vigil. I don't know what their message is, but I know what our message is, and that is everyone matters. Every single person matters, but right now, we need to stop the specific targeting of people of color by law enforcement and other individuals who find it necessary to take it into their own hands. Here's the other thing, is that it's not going to be easy. I'm already exhausted. I'm already exhausted from all this, and I haven't even been doing this protest stuff for very long. I can't imagine those who plan and prepare and have been vocal about this from the beginning. I want to be like you guys. I want to be able to go to work, come home, make fun of things on social media, post those funny stuff, watch my shows, and not worry about the rest of the world. But I've kept my head in the sand for too long, and I'm hoping that by stepping out, others will do the same. Because it's going to take more than me, and it's going to take more than this to get to where we need to be. And that's really all I had to say. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Antonio. Next we have Dawn Adams. Dawn is from the Sunlight Media Collective, and she's a member of the Penobscot Tribal Nation. Welcome, Dawn.
It appears I have my own personal welcoming committee. Thanks, Sean. My comments will be brief. I was this far away from chickening out. I'm not really a speaker, but when I have to, I will. I'm here today to make my godmother proud. Her name is Misha Manga Irizarry, and she lives out in San Francisco, California. Her 23-year-old son was shot and killed in a movie theater in San Francisco. He was in the middle of a mental health crisis. There was nobody in the theater but him. He was unarmed. He was shot 48 times by 9 officers. In the years that followed, it's been 16 years since. In the years that followed, my godmother created the Idris Stelly Foundation, which was named after her only child, Idris Stelly. Idris Stelly Foundation provides free, confidential services to families whose loved ones have been disabled or killed by law enforcement. This is a necessary service, and this is something she did to turn her pain into something that had meaning to her. So it would be remiss of me to stand here without mentioning her and mentioning her struggle. If you could, I'd like you to keep her in your thoughts, as well as the families of the names I'm about to read. These are people. These are people with family who are crying themselves to sleep tonight. All of them. And we're here to honor them. Alton Sterling of Baton Rouge. Philando Castile. Alva Braziel of Houston. Vincent Valenzuela of Anaheim, Anthony Nunez of San Jose, Pedro Villanueva of Fullerton, Raul Saavedra Vargas of Reno, Nevada, Melissa Ventura of Yuma, Arizona, Vincent Ramos of Los Angeles, California. These are all people who have died in altercations with police departments since Anton Sterling was killed. You haven't heard about him in the news, probably. I had to go searching for local coverage. I was able to do this because I was alerted by my godmother, who has added me to, I don't even know how many, 70 to 100 justice groups just in the last year. I'd also like to read the names of the police officers. These were also innocent lives, and they have families who are mourning them today too. Senior Corporal Lorne Ahrens, Officer Michael Krall, Sergeant Michael Smith, Officer Brent Thompson, and Officer Patrick Zamarakia, all of Dallas. If you could do us all the honor of keeping them in your good thoughts, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Next we have Michael Alpert. Michael is the chair of the local chapter of the NAACP. Thank you for joining us, Michael.
I'd like to thank the coalition for organizing this event and my fellow speakers. I'm following very powerful speakers, I'm aware of that. And all of you for expressing your concern and empathy by being here. Like all of you, I've been dismayed by the recent violence in Baton Rouge, Minneapolis, and Dallas. And like all of you, I realize that the problems that other communities face, we face. Like it or not, we share a culture of violence, and we share responsibility to work for positive change. America's ongoing gun violence is truly heartbreaking. There is no greater tragedy than to see people die before their time, to see young individuals who are filled with promise cut down without mercy, to have and see humanity denied their presence. The families and loved ones of these individuals will endure a depth of suffering that is truly hard to imagine. Yet we see the families of the slain African American citizens and the Dallas police officers maintain astonishing dignity while at the edge of despair. I find it hard to keep composure as I consider the absolute loss that has been insinuated into those families. The question for us is, how can we constructively respond in a way that respects the victims and fosters change? At a personal level, I feel that we need to confront our own fear and anger. We need to uncover and unlock the subtle and not so subtle hatreds and bigotries that were foisted on all of us when we were children. We must also peacefully confront bigotry within our own families and our circles of friends whenever and wherever we see it. To witness racism and bigotry without taking constructive action is to live without substance. On a broader societal level, it is important that we recognize that there are objective conditions in our culture, including conditions which flow from America's violent, racist history. These negative, objective conditions are not of our making, but it is up to us to use our influence to lessen their impact and to ultimately overcome them. I urge all of you to become active as you can in this election year. I urge you to push back whenever your elected officials in Augusta or Washington or elsewhere demean their office with racist language and policies. Most important, I urge you not to lose your commitment to social change. I am old enough to remember the pervasive violence and open injustice of the 1950s. Since that terrible decade, I have seen our country come a long way on the road to the realization of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of racial justice. We have seen progress, and as we all know, that progress is only the first step, is only a gesture in the right direction. If Dr. King could see the mountaintop, then we who have outlived him should be able to see and climb toward that sacred summit. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Our next speaker is Ambreen Rana, and she is a youth outreach specialist with Health Equity Alliance. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ambreen. Like Kim said, I'm from the Health Equity Alliance. I'm here to talk to you because my mother fears for my life, and that is a burden I do not want her to have to deal with. I have permission from a colleague of mine who dealt with an incident this past morning, and I'd like to share that with you. I have their permission. This was on the way to our staff retreat yesterday. Can't sleep. Tuesday morning, I was pulled over by a state trooper while driving to Orrington, Maine for work. When I reached for my license and registration, I literally thought today was my last day. I know there are some who want to keep my people trembling in fear for saying it hurts when you punch me. I bleed when you cut me. I die when you shoot me. I am afraid, but I am not a coward. Not unraveling, but diffusing. There is a reason that he fears the way he fears, and that is because as of July 7th, just 6 days ago, 561 people have been killed by police officers in the United States. There are adverse health outcomes as a result of these fears, and I'd like to talk about those. Public health professionals consider police violence to be a health epidemic. Perceived threat and actual threat of police violence perpetuates the disparities that are already present, and people of color experience these disproportionately. We see that. Families, friends, and communities of victims bear lifelong emotional and physical effects of this trauma. People of color suffer from PTSD, stress, anxiety, and stress-related illnesses as a result of repetitive acts of racism that they face. Some of those stress illnesses include heart disease, asthma, diabetes, headaches, depression, back pain, sleep dysfunction, ulcers, and many others. It's not just gun violence that's killing us. The American Academy of Family Physicians called police violence a serious public health threat based on the number of patients being treated for PTSD due to racism and due to excessive force by police officers. I want to make it clear that Black Lives Matter is not an agenda. It is an epidemic with undeniable consequences on the lives of its victims. Thank you. White folks in the crowd, I ask you to use your privilege. I ask you to engage allies and I ask you to engage as allies, engage those opposers and oppressors. Realize your role in white supremacy. Use that privilege to end white supremacy. I want you to remember that ally is a verb. It is not an identity. It takes action to be an ally. You have to have those difficult conversations with your loved ones and your families about white supremacy. You have to. That is what it takes to be an ally. It is action. We must come together as a community and use compassion, love, and respect for one another to end this, so my mother doesn't have to fear for my life.
So much. And our last speaker joining us tonight is James Varner. James has a role in the community with the Maine Heritage Policy Foundation. Am I saying that? Oh no, I'm sorry, that's not. Maine Human Rights Coalition, sorry. You can tell where my mind has been the last couple of days. That's way off kilter, but concerned about them nonetheless. Here's James. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I'm Jim Varner, former president of the Greater Maine NAACP chapter and founder and president for some 10 years. And also, I was a human rights commissioner under Governor Angus King and Governor John Baldacci. And presently, I'm president of the Maine Human Rights Coalition. And my friends, I am distressed. I am heavy burdened that we have to be here and have the conversation that we're having. Black Lives Matter. Black lives do matter. When we say Black Lives Matter, we're not talking about it's special for black people only. Yes, all lives matter, but we are talking about Black Lives Matter because we have a broken justice system that says people who look like JV must have the book thrown at him if he commits a crime. He must be pulled over because of the color of his skin, and he's driving his car because of his skin, the color of his skin. My friends, I am distressed when I think about my children. I have 3 sons and 1 daughter. I fear for their lives. I fear every day that they might end up as Trayvon Martin in Florida. It's a tough, heavy burden, my friends. I thank you for being here today. I hope that you get your love batteries recharged and your action batteries recharged. And I know that I'm talking to the choir. I know that I'm talking with concerned individuals, but my friends, we've got to do more. We've got to do more. When I about how black lives do not matter throughout this land. Lord knows I feel pain. Lord knows I feel sad. Lord knows sometimes I just wanna hang, oh my friends, hang my poor head and cry, 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 cry. Because the answer, oh yes, the answer to our problems, why it's as simple as can be. It's yours and it's mine. And once more, my friends, it's free, free to give. 'Cause what America needs most, oh, and ain't got enough of, is love, sweet love, love for one another. I'm talking about love, love for everyone, yeah. And once more, it is yours, and it's mine. Hey, friends, and it's free, free to give. Give somebody some love. Turn to the person next to you and say you love them. One of the things that the Maine Human Rights Coalition does is we promote the pledge to undo racism and discrimination. I wrote this pledge, and it's very sad. The reason I wrote it was James Earl Bird Ray, Jasper, Texas, a number of years ago, was accosted by 4 white men, chained by his ankles, and dragged behind a truck until he was decapitated. What a painful, painful way to go. Why? Because he looked like me, the color of his skin. And it's a shame. And I cried for several days, and the Lord gave me this pledge, and I'd like to share it with you. It's a pledge to undo racism and discrimination in America and in Maine, and you may find it helpful in your lives. I pledge first to take a look at my own racist attitudes, behavior, and thinking, which I may have unconsciously acquired over my lifetime from the media, home, workplace, and educational system. I pledge to share, whenever possible, the 1995 findings of the genetic discovery through the scientific study of DNA, which proved all human beings originated from the same strand of life, thus making us all related as brothers and sisters who share a common heritage, black, white, yellow, whatever. We're all human beings, and we want the same things out of life, and we deserve the same things out of life. I pledge to treat all human beings, regardless of their origin, as I want to be treated, and as I want my own family and loved ones treated. 4, I pledge to stress the beauty of diversity, of having a respect for all human beings whenever possible, in my home, at school, at my workplace and socially. 5, I pledge to the best of my ability to work daily combating racism wherever I see it. I pledge to help form coalitions whenever possible with religious, educational, service, and social organizations to discuss and work toward the elimination of all traces of personal and institutional racism and discrimination toward others who seem different from myself with regard to race, color, sex, creed, national origin, disability, sexual orientation, or human male or female sexual preferences. I pledge, as I am sojourning, to treat the earth and all living creatures with respect and care. I pledge to review this pledge daily so that I can stay on the right path. My friends, structural racism against black people in America won't change until white people in America change. Let me repeat that. Structural racism against black people in America won't change until white people in America change. I'm talking about love. And I hope that we leave here inspired with the realization that this healing process of racism, the elimination of racism and discrimination in America, and the treatment, the mistreatment of black Americans begins with YOU. It begins with you. We've got to take action. I'm sure that Dr. Martin Luther King, whom I worked with, I'm 82 years old. I was telling my friend over there, I'll be 83, God willing, in a few months. And I've been around a long time, and I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Martin Luther King. What an experience. I still go with some of his energy. And my friends, I hate to tell you, he's rolling over his grave with what's happening here today about Black Lives That Matter. This criminal justice system that I referred to earlier, having more than 70% of those incarcerated be people who look like me, and brown people and Hispanic people. Something's wrong in America. Something's wrong. And we've got to right this ship. This ship cannot be righted without the involvement of you and people who look like most of you in this audience. So let us put on our love jackets and let us roll up our sleeves and let us contact our state legislators, our federal legislators, and let us be sure that we keep that guy, I don't know what his name is, I think his last name is Trump. Let us keep that guy out of the White House. Let us not let him wreck America. Let us, ourselves, our friends, and our loved ones elect Hillary Clinton as our next president of these United States. And she'll carry on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther, Dr. Martin Luther King, but President Obama. I leave you again with this thought. Structural racism against black people in America won't change until white people in America change. Please, go in love and roll up your sleeves and work.
Thank you so much, James. To close our program tonight, we have three singers joining us. Dawn Adams, Sherry Mitchell, and Maureen Smith. And I'm sorry? And Eve Dana. And Wallopin. Come join us, everybody. And if you have a flower and you would like to lay it at our memorial shrine tonight, please feel free to do so while our singers are singing to close the program out, or you can bring your flower home with you as a memory of this event tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you to Kimberly for organizing all of this and for bringing us all here together. Can she get a big hand? The song that we're going to sing is a healing song. It's called the Medicine Man Song. We thought it would be a perfect way to end this event, to have us join together in a moment of healing.